Japan is in a catch-22, a lose-lose situation where they have to decide, do we want to support our debt market or our currency? Japan is a highly indebted country, and they are actually in a debt spiral where their debt is just continuing to get worse and worse. And this debt spiral eventually leads to currency failure. We're going to cover why that is in a couple of moments here. But let's start off by talking about Japan's debt. Japan is highly indebted. They have around 1,333 trillion yen in debt. That's equivalent to $8 to $10 trillion. And the United States actually has more debt than Japan. We have around 38 trillion to 39 trillion in debt. But the thing about the United States is we're a much larger country and we produce a lot more. A great metric for measuring how manageable a country's debt is the debt to GDP ratio. What the debt to GDP ratio does is it compares the debt of a country to how much that country is actually producing. If a country has a low debt to GDP ratio, it's telling us that their debt may be more manageable and they may be able to produce more and pay that debt off or lessen that debt. But when a debt to GDP ratio is very high, it's telling us that the amount of debt this country has is not manageable and it's going to be a lot harder for them to pay off that debt. When we look at the debt to GDP ratio of Japan, it's one of the highest out there. It's around 230%. You compare that to the debt to GDP ratio of the United States. Ours is 124%, around there, which is still not great. And I actually think that both of these countries are fucked when it comes to paying off their debt. The thing about debt is the more it stacks up, the more interest you have to pay, and this interest kind of turns into a monster, right? The United States, for example, is paying over $1 trillion in interest on their debt every year. That is an unproductive expense that the government has to look to cover. This leads to wider deficits, and the problem just gets worse and worse.